very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much to get some energy into this place after lunch. Yes, I am Max Hunter. I'm here wearing three hats today. One is as Chief Joy Officer at LoyLogic. I'll answer some questions on that soon. The other is as the founder of Max Hunter and Partners, so taking all the experience that I've gained as Chief Joy Officer to help other organizations create a motivated workforce. And thirdly, with the hat of storyteller. I tell stories on LinkedIn. You may have seen me, Lessons from Sam. And I'm going to tell you a story today about the Chief Joy Officer and the Eastern Princess. But before we go into that, what is a Chief Joy Officer? I get many reactions and responses from people when I say, "Hi, Max Hunter, Chief Joy Officer." Yes, that's normally one of them. Laughter, curiosity. But I'll start with what a Chief Joy Officer is not. I don't go around giving massages. Sorry. And definitely no happy endings either. Although this story has a happy ending, of a different sort. It's not about beanbags in the office. It's not about gym memberships, or table tennis tables, or even beer in the fridge on a Friday afternoon. None of these things are wrong. But on their own, I often define these as the plaster over the wound. It's a bit shit to work here, so we'll give you some stuff to try and forget about it. So what is the Chief Joy Officer? Well, this is my Chief Joy Officer vision. That people wake up on a Monday morning and say, "Great, I can go back to work." Laughter. What a crazy vision. It may be impossible to achieve 100%, but that's the vision to grab onto. And those images from the last slide are not the things that make you wake up on a Monday morning and say, "Great, I can go back to work because they've got bean bags." Involves all the dirty stuff. You can probably remember times, if not at the moment, when Monday mornings weren't that great. What were the things that made you have that Monday morning feeling that dread? They're the things that lead to the motivation. So with that in mind, as I said, I am Chief Joy Officer at a company called LoyLogic. It is a real title, question number one. It is a real job, question number two. I am on the executive management team, so I am C-suite, question number three. I've been blessed to have this job for 3 years now. Blessed that the CEO gave me the opportunity and the company the opportunity. And it is about creating that great place to work, that Monday morning feeling. What is it? So how do I do it? I'll tell you more across the story, but it's about listening in. You see pictures here of listening to the people, listening to them both through conversation, but also through surveys and feedback. You get the pulse of the organization. I work very closely with our HR department. Apologies, but I've never been an HR practitioner in my life. Sorry. So I work closely. We are now one team, but we changed the name from Human Resources to People Experience, because our mission is to focus on improving the experience of the people in the organization. So we are the People Experience team, and we work closely to have launched lots of initiatives, make lots of change. What have we achieved with that? Well, we launched an employee engagement initiative and program about 2.5 years ago, which still has over 90% employee engagement. And by the way, it has no rules and no policies. It's not a must. And in that time, we've massively improved staff retention, so we've plugged up the leaky bucket as a consequence. So that's some of the stuff we achieved. Touch more on that soon. But I want to tell you a story first. When I started on this path of helping organizations, one of the first clients I went into, I was invited in to do some research, to spend one day with the company, interviewing some people to find out what's it like here. The morning went well. I was asking all my standard questions, getting responses that I was maybe expecting, some low-hanging fruit, some easy stuff to fix, nothing too major. I could maybe do a job here. But then I remember the first interview after lunch. As the lady walked in fact, before the door had even closed, the atmosphere in the room just got heavy, like really heavy. And then she started talking, and it became super clear. I can still visualize it now. It became super clear that she was in a very bad place. Explaining how there was infighting, there was this siloed mentality. She was constantly being overruled by her boss or her boss's boss. She was being thrown stuff that she didn't want. And I realized that reading between the lines, that's what it was like at this company. And I thought, well, shit, is this really something I can help with? I did end up taking on the gig. But that level of motivation, that level of stuff going on under the surface has an impact, right, on people's behavior. Turning up late for meetings, not engaging in social events, just doing what they have to do, spreading negativity around the teams. I'm sure you've all either experienced that or witnessed it. So, with that in mind, if that's what negative motivation is, what are the keys to human motivation? And through all my experience, as well as a lot of the research, there's lots of wonderful behavioral economics research, I've kind of simplified it to the 4 fundamental keys to help release motivation in an organization, in individuals and therefore in the organization. The first one I call I belong. Right? As a species, we went from being one of the physically weakest species on the planet to practically running it because we came together in tribes and communities, division of labor. It's hardwired into us to want to belong. We've heard that a lot already. To belong to the system, to belong to something, to belong to the group. 1. The next, I call this I am seen. So within the group, we need to feel recognized, valued, appreciated, that we have a role to play, right, in this system, in this tribe, that we are an important part of it. Number 2. The third, I call it it's my thing. This is that sense of autonomy. Again, we hear that word a lot right, today, but that sense of autonomy, that even within my sphere, I have ownership of something. I call this it's my baby sometimes, right? That I can make the decision. I don't get overruled. Super important to really release that motivation. And the final thing is, I am growing. So this is really that sense, we all want to grow and develop. The human species, data is proliferating at a huge rate because we constantly want to develop and grow as individuals too. So the 2 at the bottom, I kind of call these the roots, that which binds us to what we do. And the 2 at the top, I call, it's like harvesting the fruits of our labor. So therefore, I call this the roots and fruits methodology for releasing motivation at work. But now over to you guys. You're not getting away with it that easily. There's not been enough audience participation today, I have noticed. So with that in mind, I'd like you to take a few seconds in silent reflection to think in your organization today, which one of those things is most missing? Which one of those things, if it had more of it in your company, would make the biggest difference to employee motivation in your organization? I'll give you a few seconds to reflect on that. And now that you hopefully have it, I would like you to turn to your neighbor, please, whether you know them or not. Please find someone to exchange with. And please tell them which one of those it is and why. 1 minute approximately. Off you go. If you haven't finished the conversation, then I encourage you to continue the conversation afterwards. In fact, if there's anyone in your organizations who has the desire and the ability to change this stuff, you're here. And you all know now what the problem is, and you may, hopefully, after this presentation, have some ideas how to change it. With that in mind, on your way out, can you please take a sticker, just one, I've got 4, I cheated. Can you take one sticker that represented the thing that you kind of committed to go back and change? Can you take the sticker and put it on your badge, please? And then as you walk around later, you may find another person who has the same sticker color, and you can exchange ideas, thoughts, maybe even connect with each other so you can support each other after you leave this event. Who commits to doing that, please? Okay, I like you guys. Okay, good, thank you very much. I'll remind you of it later, don't you worry. So the stickers will be on the way out later. Okay, so what a lovely theory. Isn't that a lovely slide? But what's the power of this? Well, of course, when people feel they belong, they collaborate with each other more in the group, in the tribe, naturally. When they feel it's their thing, the innovation's greater, right? You want to make your thing better and improve it and innovate. If your people are growing, of course, you have more capability in your organization. And if people feel seen, that gives them the confidence to step up and take on more and do more, which must be good for business. So, just quickly, how do we do it? How do I do it as Chief Joy Officer at LoyLogic, and how do we do it now also as Max Hunter and Partners? Well, we take a 3-step approach. The first is listening in, right? We diagnose the problem. Hopefully it's not this bad. But we listen in, both through conversations, but we also have a survey created with behavioral economics experts, which we repeat so we get the pulse ongoing. Great, we know what the problem is. Then we attack the problem with solutions that come largely from my experience as Chief Joy Officer. I know what works, I know what doesn't. We've won and we've learnt. But that on its own is nothing. That is your poster on the wall. That is your training. That is your PowerPoint presentation. The really difficult bit is making it stick. And this is where I've learned so much as CJO. Yes, CJO. In what works and what doesn't, and it comes back to a lot of there's always wonderful behavioral economics research now which we lean on, and we'll talk more about how you get it to stick. I mean really stick, right? Not be a wonderful PowerPoint slide, but make change. Oh, by the way, thank you to, this is a member of staff at LoyLogic, so thank you to Pascal for offering to do these images for us. But now I'm going to tell you the story. The story of one person's journey through the last 2.5 years at LoyLogic since I became Chief Joy Officer and the company made that step. And I'll tell it on the motivation axis, on the y-axis, and over time. I asked someone in the company to draw their motivation curve over the last couple of years, and this is what it looked like. This is what this person drew. So we start at the white dot. And this person, the Monday morning feeling was not good. For many of the reasons that I've explained and more. So as I started listening into the organization, one thing I noticed was that the sense of belonging was very poor. LoyLogic is across 8 different countries. There's teams where a manager has 4 people, and they're all in different countries, and they've never met. You've got our software development team in India, and you've got our sales team in Denmark, and you've got most of the top people in Zurich. It was just this dispersed, faceless email mass. So I thought, okay, we need to bring faces to this, right? The human brain lights up when we see faces. So how do we create that connection, that sense of we're in this together, the LoyLogic tribe? So I launched an internal workplace initiative app called LoyLife, actually powered by Beekeeper. And it's like an internal Facebook, right? These things exist. You guys know about them probably. But the intention with which we launched it was for the people. It was their space to fill with no rules and no policies. The board were very nervous. What if? What if they do this? What if they do that? I say, well, start with trust. And then if they abuse it, then we'll start putting in rules and policies and stuff. And we launched it with a bit of fun. I launched a game called Best Team Selfie so that people could all engage and get involved. And the people were amazing. The stuff they came up with surprised even me. People got dressed up as mummies. They got toilet paper from the bathroom in the office and wrapped themselves as mummies. Another team dressed themselves as the LoyLogic tribe, literally, with like face paint in the office and topless and the guys. The Zurich office where our senior guys are, they did their morning routine in the office in the office bathroom, and this is them, and that's the CFO on the right-hand side. And this just kind of took off. People engaged with it. People got involved. People connected. Then the next thing I noticed was there was a lack of recognition, people being seen. Again, partly with the distance, partly, you know what business is like. We don't take time to recognize people, unfortunately. So because this app was going so well, I decided, well, the best way to recognize people is to say thank you. Gratitude is a huge motivator, triggers all sorts of stuff. So I launched the Thank You initiative, where I could thank someone for doing a good deed for me that day, post it in the app, and the company then donates 200 of our internal loyalty reward points to the thankee, the person being thanked. And then they can use that to buy rewards and experiences, etc., which is LoyLogic's core business. So we launched the Thank You initiative. And took off. Waves of gratitude, waves of recognition, just across the organization, spontaneously, right? No rules, no policies, use as you wish. Don't take my word for it. I interviewed a few people from LoyLogic, and here's what they have to say about all of that.
We are a very, very distributed company. Across 110 odd people, we have 7 offices. Creates a lot of trust issues, problem with communication.
Well, there are 4 things that come to my mind. One is definitely revolutionize the way the employee engagement happens in the company.
It gave a soul to the company, It gave more soul than we had previously.
So people feel like they are part of the company, they are part of the entire ecosystem which LoyLogic is.
Secondly, the way the employees communicate with each other.
So for me, the best thing is that it gives me a way of understanding and seeing what's happening in the rest of the company, and a way for me to share what my team and I'm doing with the rest of the company as well.
I am in the sales team and I travel quite a lot. For me, it's great to see what the officers do that are a little bit more distant, because otherwise there is no way I could have a feel of their day-to-day life and what they're working on.
Thirdly, there's lots of fun that we're having, knowing each other.
Feeling of a team, actually, to feel closer to each other despite the location.
Interpersonal connections, feeling like there's really people on the other side of the world. It's not just, Skype robots.
The sense of community has increased by several orders of magnitude since LoyLife was introduced.
And lastly, the knowledge sharing part.
All major announcements beyond just thank yous go onto LoyLife. LoyLife has become the kind of the message board for the whole company, and a way for everyone to communicate with one another.
So it's a great way to learn more about our clients and our products that I can use in my day-to-day work, in my sales role.
LoyLife has kind of become the glue that now holds the company together. And so, without LoyLife, there would now be a gaping hole at the center of LoyLogic.
So the next thing I noticed was there was this lack of sense of autonomy. People's KPIs were set by someone else. The managers told them what to do, and it was grinding up against the potential ability to innovate and create and be agile, as we've heard all about. And people told me the worst time of year was performance management time. The most demotivating time of year was performance management time. And so we shifted it from once a year to continuous conversations, but we also shifted the paradigm on the manager-employee relationship. By the way, look up the definition of employee in the dictionary. A person who exchanges their time for money. That's how transactional we've got. So we changed it. We decided to really not about ratings and appraisals, but about the person's growth, supporting their growth as professionals and human beings. See how high they could fly, how far they could go. What better analogy to capture that than a pilot? We don't have employees anymore. Everyone is called a pilot. And who supports a pilot on their journey? Who sits next to them, giving them support? Of course, it's the co-pilot. So we don't have employees and managers anymore. We have pilots and co-pilots supporting on the journey. So that took a step up in this person's motivation as they gained that sense of autonomy. That person then also went from being a manager to being a co-pilot. So therefore, this person had to learn new skills. There's a lot of coaching skills in here. There's lots of listening. It's a different skill to management. So this person grew through this process as well. You may be wondering what the dip's all about. Well, things got a bit tricky for this person. One, a couple of their best friends left the company. Shit happens that even we in HR can't solve. But then also, this person got a bit more overruled with decision making. So we're working on that. Then this person put it all together and decided to go to our India office, where most of this person's team were, most of the people that they worked with, most of their colleagues, and they took it on themselves. Because now this level of motivation and engagement in the company was high, I want to go and do that now. I want to go and give my time and energy to it. So this person put all four together and went to India and created incredible things. This lady on the left is the person who drew the motivation curve for me. This is her story. A lady from Russia who went to India. This is our Eastern princess. This is also the lady that I told you about walked in the room at the start. This is the lady whose motivation was so low that she was at her end. This is our Eastern princess. But the job's not finished yet. There's other things we're doing. We want to grow this sense of belonging and this sense of growing. And we're creating the LoyLogic Flying Academy to help our pilots fly higher, faster, better. Coming out soon. So, that's the 4 keys to motivation. That's the roots and fruits. Some takeaways for you. Quickly, roots and fruits, of course, is the key. Hopefully you've got some practical actions that we've taken. Maybe you can take inspiration from. And you have to convince your CEOs that motivated people drive business results. And last but by no means least, I haven't forgotten that you guys made a commitment before. So please, take a sticker on your way out. Just over there, this door out, please. Take your sticker, stick it on your badge. Please, I'd love it if you can let me know. Either let me know what changes you're making, or please just get in touch. I'm happy to give you some more tips if you've got questions, want some inspirations. So please do get in touch. I'd love to hear how it goes. But apart from that, all that's left for me to say is thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Max.